Hey guys, as Legion comes by, so does a new hero class, Demon Hunter. I'm a huge fan of the whole Illidan stuff, so my interest got peaked and I've decided to roll this class for now. If you're like me and you'd like to give this class a try, let's analyze some hitbox and hopefully we can learn how to maximize a result in both PvE and PvP situations. Starting with the most obvious move, the signature move for Demon Hunter, Fel Rush. The first thing you'll notice with that Fel Rush is that it's not always constant. We can disassemble Fel Rush into two phases. The first phase, which is occurring on the moment you're pressing the button, the first phase calculates the damage and then launches your character forward. The second phase simply stops your character. Based on this theory, the Demon Hunter does not always land at the same distance every time he uses Fel Rush. This is due to the server lag in between the phases. A player could launch his rush, lag for a little bit, and be stuck in a constant charging state until the server either disconnects him or he regains communication, and then Fel Rush completes by entering phase 2. Now that we know this, let's have a look at the hitboxes. We mentioned earlier that the damage is being dealt during phase 1, so whether your Fel Rush takes you approximately like 15 yards in front of you, or it takes you to New York, it does not really matter because the damage is dealt before moving. After conducting some tests, we found out the distance is about 20 yards plus the player hitbox, which I guess changes depending on which race you are and which race is your enemy, but don't quote me on that. In terms of the width of the hitbox, it's safe to assume that the width is approximately the distance of your auto attack, and that is pretty huge. Just have a look at this example. A trick that you could apply is to have a look at your Consume Magic spell. If you're in range to land your Consume Magic, that's 20 yards, then you're going to land the damage of your Fel Rush, of course if you cast it directly in the direction of your enemy. Also, something really important to note is that it does not seem to consider pathing as a problem, as determined in this example. Let's have a look at the Goblin up top. Oh, and before we're done with that spell, note that the hitbox starts at the exact player position, as shown here. Alright, so we know about Fel Rush now, let's move on to Vengeful Retreat. By itself, just the movement part of it, Vengeful Retreat is pretty easy to understand. You just press it and it launches you backward. But this spell does way more than that. It deals damage, slow the enemy, and also generate fury if you're specialized into it. So if you're dueling or doing PvP in general, moving around is cool and all, but this extra damage and debuff is really important, so let's make sure we understand how big the hitbox is. After testing a bit, we conclude that the hitbox pretty much just matches the animation you see, which means that your player is the center of a circle hitbox, and the radius of that circle is the auto attack range again. Now, since we're talking about a circle here, the direction you're facing does not matter at all. You could be ahead of your opponent and use Vengeful Retreat. That would still hit. Same thing applies if you are parallel to him. And finally, let's have a look at High Beam. Now this one is really obvious to understand. You probably already know how it works, but the reason I want to showcase it here is because I've been using it wrong for a good amount of time. Thing is, since we're casting in front of us and it pretty much just follows our camera direction, we don't really understand the depth at which it goes. Well, I didn't really understand the depth at which it goes. This thing reaches about 17 yards in front of you, and that is huge when you think about it. Realizing this made me change my playstyle quite a bit, which is why I'd like to just tell you guys, just to have a look at this example and realize how far it goes. Something that is really cool as well is that you can launch this spell while falling. Something I often do is I launch my Vengeful Retreat into a Eye Beam and then I follow up with a Fel Rush. And I will pretty much conclude this short but hopefully really useful analysis on some Demon Hunter spell that got me curious as I've started playing this new class. If you made it all the way here, make sure to leave a thumbs up to the video and also subscribe to the channel. Thanks for watching, Nurk out.